Hey guys, welcome back. Carter, BitsBeTrippin. It's been a few days. Let's get into this. So, if you're just finding the channel, stick around for a second. I'm going to cover a topic that's been coming up quite a bit as this crypto has been going up in price. A lot of people come out and ask, they say, hey, you've had a YouTube channel around since 2013. I still don't understand crypto. I don't understand what gives these things value. Like, what's the utility? Why are people buying this? Why is there 9,000 different cryptos? What do they bring to the table? What is this, just speculative buying? Is this a tulip? What is this? So let's get into this. So the basic understanding, and this is going to be, I'm going to try to do this as quick and concise as possible. You got to understand different cryptocurrencies provide different sets of features and functions. If you have something like Bitcoin, first one out there, it's the gold standard. It has a fixed supply limit. That's 21 million coins that are out there. It has a halving every 4 years. So you have this natural inflation that consistently goes down, right? So your inflation rate goes down, your supply demand is up, price is going to go up. It's pretty linear. The functions and assets that could be put onto it are very limited when it comes to, like, if you're trying to use it for like an application development space or you're trying to build something on top of it. There are efforts that are trying to scale that up. There's Lightning and Liquid. I'll have a couple icons here for you guys can click on those, and below in the description if you want to learn more about content when it comes to Bitcoin. But by and large, it's a supply demand driving force. It's going to be the main core liquidity and value system out there in the world. That's what a lot of us believe. So, you know, buying and holding strategy, very solid with Bitcoin, not financial advice, just kind of what, and then you have other networks. You have stuff like Ethereum, you have Polkadot, you have Cardano, you have Ravencoin, you have other things that are different networks. So there's a physical instantiation of something completely different, something new. It's its own network, its own ledger. Think of it like its own database. And each of those have different sets of features out on them. So a lot of the reason why you see lots of different cryptocurrencies is because the developers, people wanted to make a change either on Bitcoin or Litecoin or some of the early cryptocurrencies, yet they couldn't get their influence across to the network in such a way that they could put new features in. So what happens is these folks build teams, and then they go build other cryptocurrencies that include those features that they want to have in there. And you take the case of Ethereum, you have Vitalik Buterin, Dr. Gavin Wood, and Charles Hoskinson, which they were all together on Ethereum in the beginning. And Dr. Gavin Wood moved away, left the Ethereum project to make Polkadot. He wanted to make some change and had ideas on how to do scaling and smart contract content, and made essentially was Polkadot and the Polkadot ecosystem, along with a whole bunch of other developers and people that he had, obviously convinced to come work for that space. And then you have something like Cardano. Cardano went more of a research project standpoint to say, we are going to have these sets of features that we want to have in there, but we want to actually run the game down of actually publishing papers, letting the collegial side of the house understand and appreciate what we're trying to do. Now, Cardano, I think, is kind of a step back from all the rest of them. I mean, they don't support smart contracts just yet. There are future states of what can go, but, as an example, Cardano kind of taking up the back of the pack when it comes to the larger market cap cryptocurrencies, when it comes to different, platforms. That doesn't do anything against them, but it's just another example of like just the way their approach is when it comes to features and functions on the blockchain. Now, the big thing between all three of those, Cardano, Polkadot, and Ethereum, is their platforms. So they were designed as like a base layer, and then that you wanted to have a turning complete application development on top of it. Now that's manifested in different ways. There's other tokens that are built underneath it that are all a mechanism for the functions to work. And what I mean by that is when I explain to people, like, why are there a whole bunch of different tokens on some of these cryptocurrencies? So like Ethereum has an ERC20. That's just a function that allows you to spin up a new token. A lot of people in the beginning in 2017 started using those as fundraising. So it was kind of like where if they had an idea, they would produce a white paper and they said, hey, if we can raise some money, we can go build this thing. Well, as we know, a lot of those ICOs didn't really materialize. People took the money and ran, which is why the SEC went after them from a security standpoint on certain projects that went and took the money and didn't really produce anything. But there are several projects that took those original ICOs and actually made the networks that they said they were going to make. We have Uniswap out there. We have Matic, which didn't turn to Polygon. There's a whole bunch of these different efforts that added new features and functions to the base Ethereum ecosystem. This is happening right now with DOT. This is happening also with Cardano. And then there's other networks that started on Ethereum and have switched off of Ethereum, but using Ethereum as essentially the basing from platform, where you have like EOS started as an ERC20 token on Ethereum's ecosystem and then transitioned as they rose enough money to build their own network, which now has their own sets of features and functions, which EOS is its own network also, as an example. We see this also with like something like Ravencoin, which didn't come from Ethereum, it came from Bitcoin. It used Bitcoin's core and wanted to create an entire asset class of system where you could have restricted assets. You could start to try to comply with like the US stock exchange when you wanted to do like STOs, like stock traded options, and you needed to have restricted assets. So there's a whole bunch of litigation and architecture around the design of something like Ravencoin that allows possibility to where banks and companies could start issuing stock on a cryptocurrency blockchain that did a one-to-one match with the current architecture. And now you would have the transparency of the ledger versus it being behind closed doors and maybe a central entity being able to just say that there's this many shares issued. You could actually provably and cryptographically be able to prove it yourself to go out there and look at the ledger and see what was issued, as an example. So each of these different cryptocurrencies brings some kind of value to the whole system, and that's where the art of where do you put money into it if you're trying to just buy the crypto, or if you're going to use the platform or something to that effect. What is the punch list, as it were, that they're bringing to the table? And so if you run from the top to the bottom, most of these cryptocurrencies, if you really kind of just peel it back a notch, have some story of what they're trying to do from a feature and a function standpoint, and then what their availability of, you know, application development is right now. What are they providing? They'll have these series of different applications that are out there that you can go and use. Some of them have just basic services, something like Bitcoin Cash, which is trying to be a currency of the world, has made partnerships around the world to try to just allow it as use as currency, so where you could use your phone and just like a Apple Pay style thing, but it's on the ledger versus being within a central company. Dash has done the same thing, separate network, different consensus mechanism where it's a hybrid proof of work and proof of stake model. So the incentive to uphold the network is around that, but then it pushes a heavy, let's use this as cash, digital cash kind of prospect. So you have different plays in float. You have the currency as cash. You have the hodl idea from an asset class thing. So you have cash, currency being synonymous. You have a asset class like a private equity being hodl, kind of basic concept with some of them. Then you have features and functions on some of these different cryptocurrencies that are providing you, you know, like we, on the last video I did, Z.Run, showing an actual living, breathing betting system that was very fast. It was low fee, and it's running on a layer 2 setup for Ethereum. So layer 2 being Polygon is the network there. I'll link you to a cool video on Polygon that explains it in detail of how it functions and works, but it allows people to make microtransactions very quickly. And again, this isn't in a central company, this is on the blockchain ledger itself. So this is why you have so many different diversities in cryptocurrencies. And if you go through essentially the top 100 cryptocurrencies, they're going to show the detail of what they're trying to provide. My question back when people say, okay, cool story, all of what you just said was awesome. However, what do I like invest in next? I would say, if you're a specialist in a particular field, is there a cryptocurrency that's trying to tackle that field? And if that cryptocurrency is trying to tackle that field, if like you're a medical device company, or if you're a finance company doing lending and borrowing and maybe derivatives, whatever, find the cryptocurrency that is claiming that they're tackling your industry. So you as an individual, this is my homework backed out to this space. If you're sitting in this space and you don't understand, but you have like a specialty that you as an individual are smart at and do every day, and you know it better than anybody else in your mind, then find the cryptocurrency that's trying to tackle that. Because I tell you, there's 9,000 cryptocurrencies out there and everything's up for game. And if there is one, start to read through it. What are they doing that's different than what you do now? That's your first question. 2, is there discussion and innovation around that may change that industry? And if it is, then maybe that's one that you know, to where you don't have to go try to learn something new initially, and you can see, is this one that could make a difference in the space? And if it is, it might be one that you want to invest in, because you're seeing that they could upset the balance in the centralization of whatever your company or your expertise is. And it may give you some better clarity of, you know, what's going on in the ecosystem to allow you to, once you start to understand that, then you'll start to see other things like lending and banking. You're like, hey, you know, it's really hard to get loans sometimes. I have all this paperwork to fill out. But if I had some ETH and that ETH appreciated, I could turn it into AVA, and then I could do a fully collateralized loan for myself, and it's instant. And I don't have to spend all this time, you know, looking for, you know, going through documentation and trying to prove stuff. So there's a lot of, just as an example, there's a lot into it. A lot of it you have to do your own research on, but I'm just trying to give you a basic understanding of why there's so many. So hopefully it wasn't too long-winded, and this one helps. I'm doing interviews for editors, so we can actually get some real, like, professional style content on here more rapidly for you guys, because I got a lot up in this noggin and I do a lot of stuff out in the space, and I want to be able to translate it for you guys, you know, in a way that's presentable. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one. Hit that subscribe bell if this helped you. Put some comments below if you have some questions, and I'll see you guys in the next one.